Let's get more now on the refugee crisis. We're going to switch gears and go to our guest, Lisa Osborne Ross with the public relations firm APCO Worldwide, joins me from New York to talk more about the refugee crisis and what we have been hearing at the UN General Assembly. Lisa, thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Let me begin with China's commitment. As I mentioned, $300 million in new assistance. Is that sufficient, considering this is the world's biggest refugee crisis since World War II?
It is such an important start. When you talk about sufficiency, I think we all have concerns given the magnitude of the issue, whether anything is sufficient, but I would go so far as to say that if other countries made the type of commitment that China has, I think that we would be in a much better place than we are right now.
What about other countries stepping up? U.S., we've heard, is planning to increase the number of refugees it will take in the next year. And how do we make sure, Lisa, that all these commitments, all these promises, that these individual countries keep their promises?
I think as it is with any fruitful relationship, you start from the beginning with an understanding of, I will make this level of commitment, and in exchange for this level of commitment, this is what I expect back. And I think when you have these conversations, whether it's one-on-one, and which is so much of what this refugee crisis is about, it's about one-on-one relationships and how we make a difference. But I think when someone makes a financial commitment, the way China and the way the U.S. and the way other countries have, it has to be made clear that expectations must be met in order for resources to continue.
I'm just wondering, some nearly 200 countries signed a declaration Monday to step up their efforts to help refugees. But this was a non-binding declaration, meaning they're not legally obligated to follow through.
As I have been here for the past 3 days, whether it's been at the United Nations Foundation Social Good Summit, whether it's been at Concordia, where I spoke earlier today, the real issue is making sure that we understand that this is a crisis of morality. Money always has a role to play, but the reason that these countries will meet their obligation is because we have no choice. This is one of the greatest opportunities that we as human beings, as humanity, have to express who we are, what we value. And I think I'd like to believe that it doesn't have to be binding, because people will do the right thing. And if you make that type of commitment, and when you see progress, I think the commitment continues.
Lisa, what about getting to the root of the problem, which is why millions of people are on the run, escaping poverty, war, persecution?
Right. I met with a young former refugee, a young man who escaped Honduras as a 14-year-old boy. He gave a harrowing account of how he rode on buses, how he hid behind military personnel as they were coming through, as he hid from the gangs who were trying to get him to stay. And when I asked him the question about what really matters and what needs to be done, he said people need to understand our experience. He was incredulous when I said to him, what would you say to the American people and others who don't understand your plight? He said, what else would I do? Where else could I go? And he looked at me and said, what would you do if faced with a similar situation? And I think when we start to look at it from that context, that it is the human capital and the human toll that it takes on all of us, that's when we start to act differently.
Lisa Osborne Ross, thank you so much.